Hey guys, Joshua Bane Tech, and this is where I bring you the everyday user experience. For this review, I have the Moto E. It's the second generation 2015 edition. This is a very interesting device because it's so inexpensive. So let's go ahead and get on into the review. As I mentioned, that this is a very interesting device because it's actually priced pretty well. I'll get into those details in just a minute, but I want to go over some of the specs because those are actually really important for this device specifically because it's not actually considered a flagship, but it's actually got some pretty good specs to go along with it. One of the big differences between last year's model and this model is that it actually supports 4G LTE connectivity. This is great for anybody that uses a GSM carrier such as AT&T or T-Mobile, along with any other carriers that support those towers, such as Cricket, which is actually the company that I'm using for my experience with this device. Right out of the box, you get Android 5.0 Lollipop, which is a great update. It's a really nice update for the Android ecosystem. It has some really nice features to it. Another nice factor about this phone is that it has 8 gigs of onboard storage, but it doesn't stop there. You can actually expand the memory up to 32 gigs with the SD card, which is actually a really big deal to me because 8 gigs would just make me sacrifice a lot of apps that I use on a regular basis. So this is very nice that I can expand my memory up to 32 gigs, whether I put any kind of media on it or if I just want to use apps on those. I have that kind of leniency to be able to use what I want. Other cool specs that you want to take note of is that it's got a quad-core processor, it's got Corning Gorilla Glass, and it's actually got a water-resistant coating on it, so that's pretty cool, and it's going to help reduce those fingerprints as well. Speaking of the screen, it's a 4.5-inch QHD screen rocking 245 ppi IPS. It comes with 1 gig of RAM, which is actually really good for the Moto E because Motorola has done a really good job with how they operate and make the phone function. It doesn't need that much memory, so it's really good that it's got at least 1 gig, which is going to do really good. Another really cool feature about this phone that's actually one of the best features about it is the battery. It rocks a 2,390 milliamp hour battery, and that's really going to get you through the day for sure because Moto, like I said, with their 1 gig of RAM and then their quad-core processor, it's going to be able to run through stuff and it's not going to consume that much battery life. So it's really cool. And because the screen is actually not that high resolution, it's not even an HD screen, you're going to be able to get through it. It's not going to use a lot of battery life. Moving on to the camera, it's got a 5 megapixel camera, and the way that you're going to use that is that you're just going to tap to capture. It's got some pretty cool features like slow motion and some VGA front video capture. The video on the back actually captures 480p HD video at 30 frames per second, MP4 kind of format. If you're familiar with Motorola, they've done really cool things with just kind of complementing the experience, and one of those experiences is the twist to activate the camera. You can do this from any screen, but it's really convenient at the lock screen. All you have to do is twist it with your wrist, and it opens it up actually relatively quick. It's just been a really nice feature that a lot of Motorola users have gotten used to doing, and they really miss it if you move on to something else. One of the other kind of interesting things to me is the way that they kind of hide the SIM card and the SD card. You have to actually remove the outer bumper to get to that area. It's not that hard to do, but at first, the first initial one was definitely a little bit stiff, but after that, it's actually pretty easy to do. All you have to do is just kind of peel it off, click on in the SD card or SIM card that you want to use, put it back on, and you're good to go. Let's talk about the build quality real quick. It's actually got a pretty decent build quality. It's got a hard plastic. It doesn't feel too cheap, I guess you could say. It's a nice plastic, but you're definitely gonna want to put a case on this because it does tend to get dirty if you have the white one. And I just wouldn't take any chances of it dropping because I would probably say it'd be safe to say that it would crack. One of the things that I noticed was that the edges are actually raised above the screen, and that's really nice if you want to put the phone face down on a flat, smooth surface. It's going to protect that screen just in case you don't want to rock a screen protector. The buttons actually work really well, and one of the things that I like about what Motorola has done is that they have like this texture on the power button. It's pretty cool. I like it a lot, and it really just kind of helps you feel for it. Let's say if you're just reaching your pocket, you just want to activate it really fast. It's nice to just know where it's at. And again, the buttons work really well, no complaints whatsoever from me about that. The headphone jack is placed on top, which is actually not the area that I prefer that it be at. I would rather have it at the bottom along with the USB connection. I just like to have all those connections at the bottom. It's just more of a natural placement for me, but it's not a deal breaker for me at all because there's so many other phones out there that have that same placement for the headphone jack. Again, if you're familiar with Motorola, you're going to be loving that Motorola dimple on the back. But if actually, because it's a smaller device, I'm used to bigger devices, I end up putting my finger on the camera instead of the dimple. So that's been kind of a not necessarily frustrating, not to mention that I've been using the LG G3 to where I'm used to putting my finger on the back to basically use any of the buttons at all. So it just takes a little bit of getting used to before you actually if you like to rub that dimple versus the camera. And speaking of the back, you're going to notice that there's actually no flash with the Moto E, which again, I actually don't ever really use the flash, but in certain circumstances, you're going to want to use it. And especially because the camera isn't that great already, it kind of needs that flash. But again, it's not a deal breaker to me because I hardly ever use the flash. To finish off talking about the back, it's got a nice curved back, which really makes it nice and comfortable in hand. Now let's talk about the experience that I've had with it, and that's going to kind of go into the performance aspect of this review. The screen is one of the things that I look for a lot in a phone, and it's actually kind of difficult to see outside. It's not too bad, you kind of get used to it, but there's a lot of other phones that even high-priced flagships still have that problem. So it's something I can overlook, but it's something I still want in a device is to be able to see it outside relatively good. As far as how it feels in hand, it's actually really nice. Like, I have big hands, so it's definitely easy to navigate with it one-handed. I do like to use a phone one-handed most of the time. There's just rare occasions where I actually use two hands. I use SwiftKey for my keyboard, and it's a godsend for these side screens because it's actually harder for me to type. It's like I have to peck at the screen when it's a smaller screen, so I really like using the swipe to type feature. Performance wise, this actually has a few hiccups compared to what I'm used to. Now I'm used to, larger flagship devices to where they have more RAM, they have a better processor, all that kind of jazz. So I kind of have to forgive some of the lagginess or slowness that this device has, but it's actually average. I wouldn't say, it's just great. It doesn't fly through stuff like I would on an LG G3, a Note device or anything like that. But again, this is only 150 bucks on Motorola.com. I have a lot of forgiveness for this kind of stuff. The areas that it just performs really well is actually the camera app. It snaps pictures really quick. You can activate it really quick with that twist feature. As far as the other areas of the phone, it scrolls through things fine. My home screens go fine, whatever. Browsing is average. I wouldn't say it's the best, but it actually kind of depends on your connectivity, whether you're connected to your 4G LTE or your Wi-Fi, depending on how fast that is. That's going to be what your experience is about as well.
Hey there, everybody, and how are you guys doing today? This is Joe Marin here with Mobile Cup of Joe, and yes, March Madness is going right there, but I gotta take a quick break from all the basketball to talk about a pretty awesome phone, and that is the Samsung Galaxy Note Edge.
Something for the experience and performance aspect of this that I want to bring up is that it's got an unlocked bootloader. That's a big deal to me. I really like to just kind of tinker and hack my devices, load custom ROMs. So with that said, I should see some better performance, not saying that it's bad, but I should see some better performance when I get to load all that kind of stuff on it. I can't leave out the Moto features that Motorola adds to their devices. That's including Moto Display, Moto Assist, and Moto Actions, and of course that quick camera. Those just really complement the experience that the user has. Really cool stuff. I've enjoyed using it. It's one of the things that I look forward to when I have a Motorola device. The experience has actually been really impressive to me, especially keeping in mind that this thing only cost 150 bucks on Motorola.com. One of the best deals on the internet that I've seen so far is through Cricket Wireless, and that's because if you activate it, if you buy the Moto E through them, it's only $79, and then you're going to add 40 bucks for a plan. So it's actually a really good deal if you go that route. I'm going to say something really bold here. I could probably last longer as a daily driver device with the Moto E than I could actually with the iPhone 6 Plus. If you follow my channel at all, you know that that actually only lasted 1 week with the iPhone 6 Plus. Now, it's kind of iffy to say that because camera is a big deal to me, and obviously the iPhone 6 Plus has a great camera. But I love the Android ecosystem on a phone. It's just perfect for me. I've gotten so used to it that's the reason why I could say that I could probably last longer with the Moto E versus the iPhone. To wrap things up, I just want to say that I'm going to support this device as long as I can. So if you're a Moto E user, this is the channel that you want to stay tuned to and subscribe to, because I'm going to support this until the wheels fall off. I'm going to do videos on ROMs, customization, some how-to guides, and also some accessories. With that said, guys, overall this thing is a great device. I can't say enough about it because it's the best budget phone out there. Go ahead and click the links down below in the description so you can pick one up for yourself if you haven't already. And guys, thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. If you like this video, please give a thumbs up. If you have not subscribed yet, please do so you can see more videos like this.